Hi, you're all very, very welcome. I just want to say, firstly, that wonderful piece that you were listening to and have been listening to and we've been listening to for the last full day was written, composed and conducted by Waterfordian L. Wadding and performed by quite literally a whole fleet of lovely people who've been living with us for the last day and a half. They're in all of the windows, and I hope that they will mingle now and relax because they've done an incredible job here today. The wonderful new work was commissioned by Garter Lane Arts Centre as our Percent for Art scheme presentation, in part for these celebrations here today, but also to mark the new energy and era of departure for this Garter Lane Studios, as funded by the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht Sports and Media, Waterford City and County Council, and supported by Clown Credo Financing Organisation. My name is Sheila Penkert, and I'm the Executive Director here at the Arts Centre, and it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you all here today. The rough running order this afternoon will be some speeches and some hopefully, lovely words and some celebrations in the form of refreshments and cake. Paper flower making workshops have been in full swing upstairs all morning under the tutelage of paper wizard artist Jenny O'Neill, and historical tours of both Garter Lane buildings with none other than Joe Face-Mar to guide us. Have been bringing history to life and will do so again at approximately 3:30 today if anybody wants to join in, and that really is a treat. We'll be treated to some more really beautiful music by Aleka Potinga and Chris Guilfoyle, who you'll hear a little bit about later on. And now really all that remains for me to do in order to kick off today's proceedings, aren't we so lucky with the weather, but I would love to introduce to you Councillor Joe Conway, Mayor of Waterford City and County, to say a few words, please. Welcome, Mr. Mayor.
Gur míle mágad Sheila agus gur mágad a goibh go léir as an fáilte mór a thug sibh domsa. Nach even an lá doin bheith I gáirgin galanta é sin nasca le chéile le atmosfér bríomhar agus nóir nascan tú rudaí cosúil le sin le chéile nach méid an lá goin an seo. We're going to have a wonderful day here, and it's my great privilege to be here with you, before you on this lovely occasion to celebrate the 40th birthday of Garter Lane. And I'm thankful to Garter Lane, to Sheila in particular, for the opportunity to say a few words here and to mark this auspicious occasion from relatively humble beginnings back 40 years ago to being the great artistic centre of the cultural quarter that we have here in our lovely city. I have a few speaking notes that have been provided to us, and I'm going to refer to those as Holu Agzatana Speakli Faichagum. And I want to, in particular, remark that I met Sheila's brother who taught with me many years ago, and I haven't seen him in aeons, David Penkert, and it's lovely on occasions like this that you do meet people and that you renew old acquaintances. So wherever he is, I don't know if... Oh, there he is down the corner. And he was a wonderful colleague in school, and I'm delighted that he's back in Tramore, I may say. And aren't we the lucky crowd out in Tramore to have him and his expertise over the years. So, 40 years ago, the Arts Council of Ireland annual report states, and I quote, "The actor Neil Tobin opened Garter Lane Arts Centre with a rousing speech," what else from Neil Tobin, "from the front steps of the building and the premises on O'Connell Street. And by all accounts, that was a great day of celebration right across the city as a new era was dawning in the arts in Waterford." And that plaque is still attested to down in the foyer, and I hope that you take it in as you wander around this magnificent building today. The Arts Act was signed into law in 1972, and it stated something along the lines that arts provision regionally and rurally was to be investigated and invested in. And the following years resulted in an extraordinary time of arts development in Ireland during that period. And it coincided, that period as well, with the introduction of what we used to call, back in the colleges of education then, the new curriculum. That was the 1971 curriculum, and it was the first curriculum in which arts and crafts, as it was called then, was based and introduced and mandated as being a central part of the curriculum at the time. And all of us in the colleges of education were liberated by that, because coming from a fairly grim secondary school background, we were suddenly in the colleges of education, which were, you know, for the time reasonably liberal anyway, and they had a very good arts faculty. And it introduced fellows like me who went to a diocesan seminary up in the Midlands, and it wasn't famed for the liberality of its curriculum or indeed its arts program either. It was a Latin and Greek school, and it was lovely to go into a place where the arts was so fulsomely welcomed and investigated. And of course that infected, if it's the right word, infected the young teaching force going out. So you had a sort of an age of enlightenment at the time in the early to mid-70s, where there was legislation underpinning and promoting the nascent arts program of the time. And as well as that, that was bolstered by the fact that you had a reasonably enlightened young teaching force going out. And that, of course, then was enshrined later on in the revised curriculum, which came in some years ago. And now we have, in the schools, we have a much more vigorous and you know, atmosphere, Iwadnis Brevera and Shin in Snascalinna, where you have teachers and pupils who have an interest, a central interest in the arts and in creativity. And it's lovely in all its facets, whether it be music or film or whatever. And in that regard, when I was a principal for 19 years out in Dunmore East, one of the high points of the year, every year, was the visit of the outreach that Garter Lane and Little Red Kettle used to do. And the aforementioned Joe Marr used to come to our school, and Sheila indeed, and Mary Boland and all those notables. And they came to the school and they enlivened the curriculum by their crazy antics and sometimes quite wonderful productions. So the outreach that this Garter Lane and Little Red Kettle and all of them that they have given over the years has been truly inspirational for Waterford, for the teachers, and a shot in the arm for the arts, of course, in the schools. So Waterford City and County Council, whom I speak on behalf of and representing all of the people of Waterford City and County, we are very, very happy always to support Garter Lane and to generously support the refurbishment that's going on. I know there are many other inputs as well, but it's a council that is enlightened and gives as much as it can in straightened budgetary times sometimes. But I see our art officer, Conor Nolan, is here, and he and his team, and Elle as well, who did the directing of the music, she's part of the team. And it's a council that is very enlightened and very committed to the arts. And this whole quarter that we have now down O'Connell Street, it's going, I'm pretty confident in saying that it's going to be a serious competitor for the Viking Triangle on the other side of town. And I'm already telling my friends that this part of the city, I am now calling officially the West End. So what else? I have loads of speaking notes here, but I'm sure you don't really want to listen to me. They're very comprehensive, so I'm just going to read the last paragraph here. So, in wishing Garter Lane Centre a happy birthday, we are in fact wishing ourselves a happy birthday as citizens of the city, a city that embraces the arts fully and appreciates the importance of the arts in our lives, for our energy and for our satisfaction and our peace. So, on those notes, Gormila Mahagrev, us on Fáilte, Hugshiv, Gormila Mahagrev Sheila, us up very short.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is that okay?
That's perfect. Thank you so much. Now I'd like to welcome to say a few words a lady who has become our friend just in literally very recent weeks, and we're really, really thrilled to have her here. Her name is Aideen McCole, and she is the recently appointed Head of Multidisciplinary Arts for the Arts Council of Ireland. Thanks, Aideen.
Folks, I'm really honoured to be here to celebrate Garter Lane's 40th birthday. It's such a milestone, not only for this organisation, but for the Waterford community and indeed the wider arts community. I was intrigued to hear about a residency that happened here late last year in the new project space upstairs. Go have a look at that space if you haven't yet. And this was Garter Lane's first ever jazz residency in partnership with the Improvised Music Company. The artist in question is Aleka Patinga. We're going to hear her play later today. And she found herself meeting people, talking and sharing ideas here in this space that is all about that very thing. In particular, she started engaging with the visual artists who work here. And as a result, she began to work across disciplines and combining disciplines. She has gone on to create a successful project with support from the Arts Council, I'm happy to say. Her new compositions, accompanied by visual representations by some of the artists here at Garter Lane, will be brought together collaboratively and will be presented in this building later this year. Aleka's work demonstrates something really key, that Garter Lane is a meeting point. It's a meeting point for artists to meet each other, for audiences to meet great art, and for the community to meet and enjoy that art together. This is a true multidisciplinary space. As the Arts Council's head of multidisciplinary arts, I might be biased, but multidisciplinary arts is the best kind of arts. As artists and as audiences, the meeting point between the art forms is where we can be inspired, challenged, and provoked. It gives us variety, complexity, and joy. It's also a priority for the Arts Council. Multidisciplinary arts is growing and evolving, and we would like it to be thriving. That's why they hired me, and that's why I'm in the process of developing a multidisciplinary arts policy in order to better reflect this exciting area of arts practice, the exciting realities of this practice, and in order to figure out how the Arts Council better supports it. So everyone and anyone keep in touch with me on this and keep an eye out, because I want to be hearing from people who are working in this area in order to actually make that policy really work for all of us. Alongside that, my colleagues and I are also embarking on research into how and why we define and divide the art forms the way we traditionally do. We're asking ourselves questions about how this might work currently, how it might work in the future. What does it include or exclude? What does it enable? What does it hamper? More broadly, as the Arts Council brings our 10-year strategy, Making Great Artwork, to a close next year, we are reflecting broadly and deeply on how and why we do what we do in the Arts Council, and what we can do in the future so that in the subsequent 10 years we make space for art, artists and audiences in a way that makes sense in a changing world. Making space for art in our towns and cities is and will remain key. The artists behind Garter Lane carved out space for art 40 years ago, and they have nurtured and protected that space for all of us ever since. Not only that, Garter Lane has now carved out new space in Garter Lane Studios, not only for the presentation of great art, but for the making of it and the making of the connections and collaborations that are key to its success. We all know that artist workspace is in very short supply all over Ireland, and the Arts Council is working in partnership with others to carve out more such space for artists to think, work and make. Garter Lane was carved out and created by an audacious and visionary group of artists, many of whom I know are here today. It has been nourished by a great many people since then and is now cared for by a dedicated team led by Sheila Penkert. Sheila is a hard-working and passionate advocate for this organisation and the role it plays in Waterford. This was demonstrated by her enthusiasm to engage with me as soon as I arrived in the Arts Council. Genuinely, my feet were barely under the desk when she got in touch to ensure that if I didn't already, I now knew the importance of Garter Lane, its evolution, and the people who were making it happen. So here I am, not only hearing about the importance of Garter Lane, but seeing it and feeling it. A massive thank you for letting me share this moment, and an enormous congratulations to Sheila and the team, as well as to everyone who enjoys what Garter Lane has to give for the last 40 years and for many more to come. Thank you.
That means a lot. Thank you. Okay, last one, I promise, and I won't be long. And I'm a good speed reader as well, so I can just. And I'm not half as talented as the previous speakers in the sense that, and I said this just recently when giving a speech, I'm now a glasses wearer, and I wasn't up until recently. I've kind of hit that age, you know. So I'm sorry if you're looking at the top of my head while I go through this. Okay. Apologies, folks. So. Nothing is truly set in aspic. As the amendment of the 1951 Arts Act in 1973 illustrates, under that amendment it stated, and I quote, that a provision in section 11 of the bill enables a local authority to assist the council or any group organising an exhibition or other event whose effect would be to further the aims of the council in the advancement of the arts. This provision is designed to encourage the development of artistic activity in areas of smaller population and to assist in decentralising activity in the arts. One could reasonably argue that due to that amendment we are all standing here today, because the following years in Waterford saw an extraordinary time of arts development in a period that was very difficult nationally and where real challenges were being met daily by the inhabitants of a country struggling under the combined weight of unemployment, emigration and economic hardships. Here in Waterford, one response to those challenges was manifested in local art circles. That energy, drive and desire to see better days for all spurred actions that saw arts activities being rolled out and championed in places and communities where little or no exposure to the arts world was pre-existent. The culmination and combination of political will shift at government level, together with local energies being diverted into a broader arts provision conversation, saw centres like Garter Lane take their first breaths. And that is exactly what took place here in 1984. Garter Lane Arts Centre was officially opened, one of only 7 art centres in the country at the time, and I'm thrilled to say that some of the people responsible for that drive all of those years ago are present and here with us today. And look at where we are now. Look at where it all is now, a full 40 years later. At the time of opening, it was the largest art centre in the country. Of course, that status has long been eclipsed, but that incredible sector-wide evolution that we are so aware of today forms part of our cultural mainstay. This centre's importance and its contribution to a national cultural infrastructure that we now simply take for granted cannot be understated. Garter Lane, having been brought to life so many years ago, has been a base for the many burgeoning and fledgling artists and groups who have gone on over the years to have really great artistic careers, establishing a culturally vibrant city and bringing decades of joy and experience to Waterford and regional audiences, with the provision of quality arts activities and actions for all as its core mission. So, do we, to borrow a phrase, stand on the shoulders of giants? Yes, of course we do. We all do all the time. We are only as strong as the foundations laid by the people before us. In this case here at Garter Lane, that is also intrinsically included of Samuel Barker and the many Quakers here in Waterford, and in particular on O'Connell Street, whose ethics are not lost on us as being a community whose values speak clearly to communal sharing and societal bettering. In Waterford, we could and we should view ourselves as somewhat blessed. As we know, we have the knowledge, we have the experience and the expertise of being in and from a place where truly excellent arts initiatives, individual artists, immensely important projects and organisations of national renown have been imagined, built and delivered consistently. And this Arts Centre is aware of the integral part that it plays and has played in that endeavour. With ongoing and appreciated support from the Arts Council, Waterford City and County Council and the Department of Social Welfare, the centre now spans both a beautiful and impressive Georgian townhouse, the newly renamed Garter Lane Studios, and Garter Lane Theatre and Gallery. In total, the centre now houses and operates a dance studio, a children's workshop, 10 visual arts studios and a project space, and a hitherto unused large basement space, along with a theatre and full cinema capabilities, a consistently used rehearsal room and an exhibition space. The centre houses a Little Room Theatre Development Centre in its continuous use of showcasing new works and burgeoning talent, and Little Red Kettle Children's Theatre Company, synonymous with bringing theatre into the lives of literally thousands of children year on year. We can be in no doubt that cultural life is in abundance here in this part of the city in two extraordinary buildings. The furbished, salvaged and now fully in use parts of this building that have never been operational in the lifetime of the Arts Centre's history are the result of much needed and appreciated funding from the Department of Tourism, Culture, Arts, Gaeltacht, Sport and Media Cultural Capital Scheme 2019 to 2022. Yay! In tandem with generous support and partnership from Waterford City County Council, of course, and an invaluable bridging loan, very, very invaluable bridging loan, and support from Clown Credo Community Financing. We are delighted to have you with us here today. We do hope you are here, Karen and Sarah. I'm not sure if you are or not. And we thank you all for pulling together, and I have to say for your constancy in assisting us with our many queries and setbacks and hold-ups and headaches. If you'll permit me or indulge me now for a minute, I'll quote myself, which sounds very indulgent, from the official studio launch where Minister Noonan and guests met here on May the 3rd. And I asked a few questions, and they were simply this: what are we doing? What have we done here? So we very simply changed the name of a building, and we've done up bits of it. And today, in particular, we're celebrating a fantastically productive, challenging, hard-working, inspirational and motivational 40 years. And as I stated on May the 3rd, as I do today, it's not so much that we're doing the job right, but that we're doing the right job. And the reason I say that is because by giving this building its long overdue identity, and by ensuring that it doesn't simply fall into a big black hole in the ground, and by bringing more usable spaces on stream, we are future-proofing this arts centre and in turn this corner of the arts sector. Those actions are of vital importance. They were nothing short of necessary in a post-pandemic climate where so many artists had shut up shop and where the need to go to work and moreover the need to go to a place of work had become so acute for so many. And we know there are naysayers and we know there are detractors, and they may naysay and they may detract all they want. Because at Garter Lane we also know that we work in a very tricky and at times wholly under-resourced sector that can prove precarious for many, yet is at all times exalted as being as a very real source of national pride. And that is why we are acutely aware of the journey we are now embarking on, but that in truth we have always been on. We are always campaigning, always championing, always advocating for, and always celebrating the sector and the artists and the workers that we are so very, very proud of. The opening of an arts centre in 1984 was a linchpin and a landmark in that long journey. Now aided with a new strategic plan and with a newly renamed building that is very clear about its function as part of its arsenal, this arts centre is plotting a course for a less precarious, more sustainable and strengthened sector for the future. We don't do this alone. We know that we are only part of a much greater whole. But this centre, its significance and the people who visioned it and those who continue it are today being extolled. Today is that really rare opportunity that we get to say, well done, and look at what we've achieved. All of us, we did this, you did this. The story of Garter Lane is very much a familial one. It exists because a family and a community left this spaces, which would eventually be inhabited by us. Spaces that have served and gone on to nurture and house many families of creators, ultimately populating and feeding a greater arts family in the southeast, literally putting our creativity on the map. And sure, like all families, we differ in opinion from time to time, but we are resolute at the day's end that what we advocate for is ultimately our greater, stronger, and more resilient arts family. We couldn't think of a better place to have a celebration other than the place where it all started, here in this building. So thank you all so much for being here, and please do, I can't stress this enough, feel free to wander its length and its breadths and, take your time. There's no space off limits. Feel free also go to the theatre and gallery, which are both open today, and the current exhibition is running until the 17th of August, and that is the Tapestry Room by a Waterford artist who's standing just over there, Kathy Burke. All the works that you see here today have been either donated and or they are commissioned pieces, many by the studio artists who are resident upstairs. Coming up in the next few months, I'm going to zip through this. We have an exciting, specific programme of birthday events and happenings, and I'll just quickly mention a few. Dive 3, Circus Strada, Isaac's Spree and Culture Ireland exploration of art in public places and its development in Ireland. Waterford Youth Arts and Garter Lane Arts Centre co-production of the Dylan Thomas classic Under Milk Wood, directed by Jim Nolan. The return from New York of Waterford native writer, opera director and artistic director Colm Summers taking up residency as an Arts Council awarded Next Generation Artist. Gala screening of Pucheen, the first ever Arts Council funded film in the Irish language. At last, we are thrilled to present Rachel Nivrian's Losing Your Body in partnership with Waterford Cultural Quarter, and the Four Rivers production of a brand new work, Castel Gandolfo, by Waterford playwright and director Jim Nolan, will undoubtedly be a true Waterford theatre highlight, with director Ben Barnes at the helm. Will Flanagan of Alchemy Arts will present the stunning Project awarded new work of circus theatre entitled The Collector, in partnership with Imagine Arts Festival. Jazz musician, composer and lecturer Aleka Patinga, as mentioned earlier, will be with us in November. And a Waterford writing event, The Arts in Our Lives, will showcase Waterford writing on the theatre main stage. So my request is this for the rest of the afternoon, and it's a very simple request, is that there is some sharing and remembering and celebrating the strength that is the Waterford arts community, both then and now, and all that has gone on between. Nothing is set in aspic. This too will all change and it will evolve. So I'd like to ask you to raise your glass if you have something in your hand, and while we can, long may we have reason to celebrate. Happy birthday.